everyone, and welcome back for video 6 of function operations. Today we are going to be looking at composition and specifically evaluating with composition. Now, the first 5 videos dealt with the first 4 basic mathematical operations: addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. Those are things you are probably familiar with. Now here, however, composition may be a whole new operation you are not familiar with. So let's take a look at a couple of things. First, we are going to be using the same functions that we used in 4 out of the 5 videos. F of x equals 3x squared minus 5x plus 6, and g of x equals 8x minus 7. Also, fitting with the theme of the other videos, we have the notation here. Now you'll notice this open circle here. That open circle is the symbol we use for the composition operation. All right, so on the left side here, what we have is f of g of 2. And on the right side, it's written the same way, meaning the same thing, but looks a little different, f of g of 2, or f composed with g of 2. So what I like to do when I'm solving a composition problem, whether I'm composing it generically for all values of x, or in this case for specifically when x is 2, the first thing I do is, if it's written like we see here on the left, I like to write it like it was on the right. So what you're going to do when you're doing this is you are going to take whatever function is on the right in this set of parentheses here. So whatever function you see all the way to the right, which in this case is g, you're going to write that, and it's going to be evaluated for whatever value is in the parentheses here, in this case 2. So I'm going to think of this as g of 2, and I'm going to write that first. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that in parentheses, and then I'm going to look to the left and see what function shows up to the left. And then I'll put that function on the outside. So f of g of 2. And the reason I like to write it this way is because now I can kind of work my way inside to the outside, doing things that I might already know how to do. We did not have a video for evaluating functions, but that's something that I would think most of you will be able to do. So what we want to do is look inside this parentheses and just evaluate g when x is 2. So we want to find g of 2. So in case you don't remember, what we want to do is first I'll go ahead and write that down, g of 2. And then what I'm going to do is anywhere I see x in my function g, I'm going to replace that with 2. So here we have 8x minus 7 becomes 8 times 2 minus 7, because the x is replaced with 2. Once I have that written down, I just want to simplify the right side of this. So I'm going to go ahead and follow order of operations. We're going to multiply 8 and 2 first, which gives us 16. Bring down that minus 7, and then I'll go ahead and subtract 16 minus 7, which gives us 9. All right, so we end up with g of 2 equals 9. Now, what I can do is go back to my composition notation, and I can replace g of 2 that's in the parentheses here with what the value of g of 2 is, which we just found to be 9. So I want to find f of 9. And what that does is that kind of simplified it down to something that we might know how to do and makes a little more sense than f of g of 2. So we have f of 9, and I'm going to do pretty much the same thing I just did. I'm going to evaluate the function f, but now I'm going to evaluate it when x is 9. So I'm going to go ahead and plug in a 9 anywhere I see x. So 3x squared becomes 3 times 9 squared, and then minus 5x. And x is now replaced with 9. You have to make sure to replace all x's with the value. All right, and again, we're going to want to simplify this down by following order of operations. So the first thing I'm going to have to do is exponents. Now you need to be careful here. Sometimes I've seen people make the mistake of what order to do this. Do I multiply the 3 and the 9 and then square, or do I square first? You should be squaring first. Only the x is being squared, which is now 9, not the 3. So 9 squared is 81. And then I can also, at this point, since this is kind of happening separately of that 3 times 9 squared, I can multiply the 5 and the 9 here to get minus 45 and then plus 6. All right, and then again, following order of operations, I'm going to have to go ahead and multiply first. So 3 times 81 gives me 243. And then I'll bring down the minus 45 and the plus 6. Now, order of operations, PEMDAS, even though it goes addition and subtraction when you're thinking about the acronym, those two things happen at the same time, and you're going to do it from left to right. So I'm going to first do 243 minus 45, which gives me 198. And then I'll add the 6 to give me 204. And that gives us our final answer. So f of g of 2 equals 204.